G'day all, it's Glenn from Pack Glenn's Fish here again. I'm going to be making a video today on a project that I work on with Aulonocranus dewindti, a Tanganyika Featherfin Cichlid, which is a group of fish that I'm really fond of and enjoy working with. I'm going to show you how I pull down a tank and a couple of the little things to consider if you're working with a group of fish, and in this case one that builds a pit to breed in. I think you'll find it interesting and I hope you'll enjoy it. See you soon. So this is my dewindti tank. Dewindti and Aulonocranus Hongi Island, or Stevani. And we have some of the spangle cichlids, which you might have seen in another video, and we certainly have dewindti to deal with here. If I can find one, we've got a batch of girls sitting down this end of the tank that are holding and need stripping pretty urgently. That might be my job for today. Poor little things. Hang on a long time. Not you. Do like me a dewindti. Look at that. Oh, I saw that. Where are you though? There she is. Look at that. Look at that poor fish holding. Is one gob full of babies. So I'm in the preliminary stages of getting this clean and stripped done. What I've got sitting here is some containers of water from the tank we're working on, which is where I will be hopefully bringing some fish to release some babies or do some stripping of. Up here you'll see I've got 3 buckets of water ready. Once again, this is just water from the tank I'm working in. I'm a bit behind the 8 ball in fish keeping compared to some other people because I'm quite badly visually impaired. So for me to get into this tank and confidently know that I've caught every fish that I need to deal with, it's a big ask. And the method I've developed for myself over the journey is to go the route here where I've got my buckets with a view to having, you know, one for each species, and that allows me to do an audit every time I go into a tank. I'm only pulling tanks down every 3 to 4 weeks like this. Unless, you know I've only got the one fish to deal with, and then I'll have a crack at trying to catch that one. But in this case, the dewindti they're a bit of a challenge to catch and strip because they will bury themselves in sand and all sorts of things. So I really want to try and make sure I've got every fish out. And one of the other things that I like to do is, sounds a bit counterintuitive, but I like to destroy that nest that they've built, basically because he's got that pile of sand up to 10 and 12 centimeters deep, which could mean we've got some issues with some anoxic, nasty sand at the bottom of that pile. And in most of my tanks I run the sand at about 5 to 10 mil thick across the bottom, which it's a shallow enough layer that you don't have that problem. So yeah, basically I'm going to do a bit of a tough love on this tank today, and we're going to get every fish out. We're going to really give it a good clean and produce some fry, and we're going to rock their world a bit. They'll take a day or two to re-establish new territories, and that gives the females a chance to recover, because the male's probably not not too bedded down in one spot just yet. So this is about the sort of halfway point for the way I strip a tank. I've gotten the majority of the habitat out and I've dropped the water level to about the halfway mark. I have the, as you might have seen in some of my other videos, my tanks are plumbed. If I want to drain a tank, I open a tap, water comes down and goes to the drain, which is a great feature for a job like what I'm doing here. I'm not siphoning and pumping. It pays to be pretty organised at this part, and it always depends on species, and you're going to learn, depending on the species you work with, which ones are good at holding and which ones are a bit flighty. I've been meaning to get to this tank for a couple of days, and I know I've missed the boat here. I did see a little fry swimming around somewhere a second ago, so I've had one of my dewindti has spat, and I haven't unfortunately got to in time, so the chances are that these juvenile peacocks might have had a fairly interesting little feed. Now I'm just going to show you something, if I can get it right on camera. So this pot is the dewinti's, one male dewinti's nest. So one has set up his pit inside this flower pot, which I've never seen before, and the second male has been working a pit on the back of the flower pot there, sort of out of sight, out of mind. What I mentioned earlier about destroying the nest, I've obviously want to start catching these fish, so I'm going to have to get this pot out now. But the thing I wanted to point out was this potential dirty sand, and it's not uncommon to see that gas escape when you level this out. So this is one of the reasons I like to do this change in a fairly dramatic fashion and basically pull all the fish out, and I'm going to level this sand out and give it all a good wash, so that when the fish go back in, they're going to be in nice clean sand and no territory. They'll have to rebuild that nest, and it might not be in the same spot. I might put the habitat back in a different place, just to mix things up for them. Just still looking for that fry I saw, but anyway, I'll get on with it. Check back soon. We've got our first candidate here for stripping. I've just caught one of the female dewintis, which you can see has got quite the chin on it. I can feel her quivering her jaw as we speak. She's desperately ready to go. I don't like to leave them sitting in these containers on the sink without covering them, because that can bring you tears. I have to get a lot closer with my aforementioned eyesight issues. There's maybe 10 or 12 little bubbies in there. And back again, another young dewinti. So these are pretty new time breeders. But even at this young age, they're pretty good at holding these prior, absolute, fully formed and free swimming. They can be a bit challenging because they're actually quite a large fry for such a small fish. It can be a bit of a job to be sure that you remove that keystone fish that's blocking the mouth. They can really get stuck in there a lot less. This time we've hit the jackpot. We've got some fry that have been spat in the net, which is always challenging. Be careful best to get all those off the net. I'm not sure this female is the female. That last scoop. She has been holding recently because she's got the big sack going, chin. Yes, that must have been noticed that she's spat out.
So here we have the fruits of our labour today. We've got maybe 20 or so little dewindti from those 2 to 3 females. Well, definitely 3, maybe a 4th one that spat during capture. Possibly a little bit egg yolky, a few of these, so I won't be letting these out into the fry tank just yet. I'll probably finish these guys off for a day or 2 in this ice cream container with an air stone. Just no filtration, no feeding, just a bit of mild aeration to keep the oxygen up for them. And in a couple of days, when they're all buzzing around like a little school of fish, they'll be good to release. Some of these are probably ready to go already. They're quite active. They're the ones that were spat in the net, ready-made little school of fish. Some of them are a couple of days behind. I just want to show you from the top looking down. That's my pre-warmed water going back in now, and I'm basically just levelling this sand out. You can see there's a bit of crud and sediment and so forth. And bristlenose. I've got the option of just gently brushing the worst of that stuff over towards my drain. So I like to call this my 120% water change. I've dumped all but that last 20 ml of the previous water, and now with this bit of washing, we're putting more than 100% of water through this tank. I'm happy now to put my screen back in. And we'll turn off our water, our drain, I'm sorry. And there we go. I've now got a tank filling back up. As I've mentioned in other videos, I run my water through a carbon pre-filter, so there's very little chlorine left in that, straight from the tap as is, but I'll still put a little pinch of Seachem Safe in there just to be absolutely sure that things are hygienic and no chlorine. So here we are a couple of days on from the big rebuild of my dewindti tank. I went for a different sort of layout this time to try and encourage a male dewindti to work at either end of the tank. At this stage we've got nothing going on at this end. What I have done is I've put the big flower pot that was in there down south, and you can kind of see that there's some sand accumulating in there. It's not a very impressive pit just yet, but I guess when you think of how many mouthfuls of sand that must be to move for a fairly small fish, I give him credit for being that far along at this stage. He's rather shy at the moment. He's not coming up the front. Oh no, there's someone in the pot now.
And likewise, 2 days on, I've released those babies that we stripped into my designated fry tank. There's some baby dewindtis there that are about a month ahead from the previous time I was in the tank, but they're not big enough to be a threat to the newbies, so they're all going to go okay and kick along together in this particular tank. They do seem to appreciate a bit of cover in the oyster shells and clutter in the tank. So it's a bit difficult to get a real eyeball on how many are in there, but they're doing well at this time. And here we have some juveniles that are 3 to 4 months old, smashing a bit of tucker. It's always great to have some backup in your room. Yeah, there's 24 or 5 fish in this tank, of which I can certainly be selling a few, but it's nice to have some reserves just in case. After a couple of days after the big job, I did find one dead dewindti in my breeder tank, which can sometimes result in, you saw how far along those, how long those females have been holding. Sometimes they just get a bit exhausted from the experience, and sadly you might lose one. So probably a job in the near future is to grab half a dozen of these out just to throw back to that colony as a form of strengthening and consolidation. Yeah, I recommend you don't sell everything you have for that reason.
So as I wrap up the editing on this video today, I've just stepped out for a little walk with Elwood. Lovely day down here in Hobart, 6 degrees maximum at the moment. Mountain looking really good. Look, I hope you've enjoyed watching my video about the Tanganyika Featherfin group member, Aulonocranus dewindti. Really cool fish, and I hope you got something out of those couple of little tips about, you know, moving the nest around a bit to get rid of that nasty build up of gas. And on that note, I'll see you again.